I'm standing in Dad's old study, dusty sunlight streaming through the window. The lawyer, Mr. Henderson, sits across from me with a manila folder. My sister Victoria isn't here yet, typical. She's always late. When she finally bursts through the door, she doesn't apologize. She just tosses her designer bag on the chair and sits down, checking her phone. Mr. Henderson clears his throat and begins reading Dad's will aloud. My heart pounds as he lists the assets, the house, Dad's savings, his vintage car collection. Then he says, everything is to be split equally between my two daughters, Maya and Victoria. Victoria's eyes light up. I see her calculating numbers in her head. She's already spent it in her mind. Mr. Henderson hands us each a copy of the will. Victoria grabs hers and stands up immediately. Great, so when do I get my money? She asks, not even pretending to grieve. Dad's been gone for only 3 weeks, and she's already thinking about cash. I swallow hard, fighting back tears. This isn't how I imagined saying goodbye to Dad. Growing up, Victoria was always the bold one. She demanded attention and usually got it. I was quieter, preferring books to parties. Dad loved us both equally. But Victoria craved more praise, more gifts, more everything. When we were teenagers, Victoria would borrow my clothes without asking. She'd take my allowance, promising to pay me back but never did. Mom would say, that's just how Victoria is. I learned to accept it. Dad noticed, though. Once, he pulled me aside and said, Maya, you have a good heart. Never lose that. I didn't understand why he said it then, but now I think he knew something I didn't. Victoria left for college and rarely called home. She was too busy living her best life, posting photos from expensive restaurants and trips. Meanwhile, I stayed close, visiting Dad every weekend, helping him with groceries and doctor appointments. After Mom passed away 5 years ago, I became Dad's main support. Victoria showed up at the funeral, stayed 2 days, then disappeared again. She sent occasional texts but never visited. The week after the will reading, I start sorting through Dad's paperwork. There are stacks of bills, old tax returns, and bank statements. I find a notebook where Dad tracked his expenses in neat handwriting. As I flip through the pages, something catches my eye, a series of large withdrawals from his savings account. Each one is labeled Victoria, emergency. My stomach drops. The amounts are huge, $5,000 here, $10,000 there. I count them up. Over the past 2 years, Dad gave Victoria nearly $80,000. My hands shake as I hold the notebook. She told him these were emergencies, but her Instagram shows luxury vacations and designer shopping sprees. I call Victoria. She answers on the 4th ring, sounding annoyed. What? Did you know Dad gave you $80,000? I asked quietly. There's a pause. Then she laughs. Yeah, so? He wanted to help me. That's what parents do. I close my eyes, feeling anger rise in my chest. Victoria, that money was supposed to be for his retirement, she scoffs. Whatever, Maya. Stop being so dramatic. I decided to visit Dad's bank to understand the full picture. The manager, Mrs. Chen, greets me warmly. She knew Dad well. I'm so sorry for your loss, she says, gesturing for me to sit. I explained that I'm the executor of Dad's estate and need to review his accounts. She pulls up the records, and my heart sinks. The balance is much lower than I expected. Your father made several large transfers in the past 2 years, Mrs. Chen says gently. She shows me the statements. Every withdrawal matches what I found in Dad's notebook, all going to Victoria, but there's more. Mrs. Chen clicks through to another screen. There's also this account. It's a joint savings account in Dad's and Victoria's names. The balance shows $50,000. Dad opened it 6 months ago, Mrs. Chen explains. He told me it was for Victoria's future. I stare at the screen, processing this. Victoria had access to this money all along. Why didn't she mention it at the will reading? Then Mrs. Chen says something that changes everything. The account requires both signatures to withdraw funds. But your father left a note in his file asking that if anything happened to him, the account should be frozen pending estate settlement. That evening, I confront Victoria over the phone. Why didn't you tell Mr. Henderson about the joint account? She's silent for a moment. Then, what joint account? I don't believe her. The one with $50,000. The one Dad opened for you 6 months ago. Victoria's voice goes cold. I don't know what you're talking about. If there's money, it's mine. Dad wanted me to have it, Victoria. We're supposed to split everything equally. That was Dad's will. She laughs bitterly. Maya, you always were Dad's favorite. You got all his time and attention. I deserve this money. My jaw drops. I was there for him because you weren't. You only called when you needed money. That's not true, she snaps. I had my own life. Dad understood that. Now, I'm coming to get what's mine. She hangs up. I sit in stunned silence, realizing this fight is just beginning. The next morning, Victoria shows up at Dad's house unannounced. She has a locksmith with her and demands to be let in. I'm already there, sorting through more paperwork. You can't just change the locks, I tell her through the door. It's half my house now, she shouts back. Let me in, or I'll call the police. I open the door, and she pushes past me, the locksmith trailing behind awkwardly. Victoria storms into Dad's bedroom and starts pulling open drawers, searching for something. What are you looking for? I ask. None of your business, she mutters, throwing clothes onto the floor. The locksmith shifts uncomfortably. Mom, I was hired to change a lock, not this. Victoria ignores him. She finds a small metal box in Dad's closet and tries to pry it open. Where's the key? I don't know, I say honestly. Victoria, stop. We need to do this properly. Through the lawyer, she whirls around, eyes blazing. You're trying to cheat me out of my inheritance. After Victoria leaves, angry and empty-handed, I call Mr. Henderson. I tell him about the joint account, the withdrawals, and Victoria's behavior. He listens carefully, then says, Maya, as executor, you have a duty to protect the estate until everything is properly distributed. I recommend freezing all joint accounts and documenting every asset. Can we do that? I ask. Absolutely. In fact, given the circumstances, I think we should. Victoria has already received significant funds from your father. We need to account for that in the final distribution. That afternoon, Mr. Henderson files the necessary paperwork. The joint account is frozen. Victoria's access to Dad's other accounts is blocked. Everything will go through probate properly now. I feel a weight lift off my shoulders, but I also feel sad. Victoria and I used to be close when we were little. How did we end up here, fighting over money like strangers? That night, I receive a furious text from Victoria. What did you do? I can't access my account. You're going to regret this. I don't respond. I'm too tired to fight anymore. A week passes quietly. I continue cataloging Dad's belongings, finding old photo albums and letters. There are pictures of Victoria and me as kids, smiling and hugging. I wonder when things changed between us. Then I discover something in Dad's desk, a letter addressed to me, dated 3 months before he died. My hands tremble as I open it. Dear Maya, it begins. If you're reading this, I'm gone. I need you to know something about Victoria. She's not the person you think she is. Dad explains that Victoria had been pressuring him for money constantly. She told him she was in debt, that she needed help desperately. But Dad hired a private investigator and learned the truth. Victoria wasn't in debt, she was living far beyond her means, spending recklessly on luxury items. I kept giving her money because I hoped she'd change, Dad wrote. But she never did. Maya, I'm making you executor because I trust you. Victoria will fight you on this, but please stand firm. She needs to learn that money isn't everything. I cry as I read his words. Dad knew. He knew Victoria would cause problems, and he trusted me to handle it. Armed with Dad's letter, I meet with Mr. Henderson again. He reads it carefully, then nods. This gives us valuable context. Your father clearly intended for you to manage the estate responsibly. What does this mean for the distribution? I ask. It means we need to account for all the money Victoria already received. Those loans from your father will be deducted from her inheritance share. I feel both relieved and guilty. Victoria is still my sister, but Dad wanted fairness. Mr. Henderson drafts a formal proposal. Victoria will receive her half of the remaining estate minus the $80,000 she already took. When I send her the proposal, her response is immediate and explosive. She calls me screaming, "This is robbery. You can't do this, Victoria. Dad documented every payment he gave you. This is only fair." Fair? You turned Dad against me. You poisoned him. I didn't. I'm hiring a lawyer, she interrupts. You haven't heard the last of this. The line goes dead. I sit there, shaking, knowing things are about to get much worse. 2 weeks later, I receive a legal notice. Victoria is contesting the will. Her lawyer claims that I manipulated Dad, that he wasn't of sound mind when he wrote his letter, and that I'm stealing her rightful inheritance. Mr. Henderson reads through the notice and sighs. This is unfortunate but not unexpected. We'll need to gather evidence proving your father's mental competence. Over the next month, I collect medical records, testimony from Dad's doctors, and statements from his friends. Everyone confirms that Dad was sharp and clear-minded until the very end. Meanwhile, Victoria launches a social media campaign against me. She posts tearful videos claiming I'm a greedy, manipulative sister who stole her inheritance. Her friends share the posts, and suddenly I'm getting hateful messages from strangers. I want to respond, to defend myself, but Mr. Henderson advises against it. Don't engage, he says. Focus on the legal process. The truth will come out. It's hard, though. Watching Victoria twist the story, making herself the victim, hurts more than I expected. Some family members who don't know the full story start questioning me, asking if I'm really being fair. 3 months into the legal battle, Victoria makes a surprising move. She announces she's moving abroad, to Spain. She posts photos of Barcelona, claiming she needs a fresh start away from toxic family. Mr. Henderson is concerned. If she leaves the country, it could complicate the case. We need to move quickly. We request an expedited hearing. The judge agrees, seeing the urgency. The court date is set for 2 weeks away. Victoria doesn't seem worried. She posts more photos from Spain, showing off a beautiful apartment with ocean views. Living my best life, her captions say. No regrets. I wonder where she got the money for such an expensive lifestyle. Then I remember, she still has income from her job, plus whatever savings she had. Or maybe she's running up credit cards, betting on the inheritance to pay them off. Either way, she's making it clear she doesn't plan to return for the hearing. Her lawyer will represent her, but her absence speaks volumes. The night before the court date, I barely sleep. Everything comes down to tomorrow. The courtroom is smaller than I imagined. Mr. Henderson sits beside me, papers organized neatly. Victoria's lawyer, a stern woman named Miss Rodriguez, sits alone on the other side. The judge, an older man with kind eyes, reviews the case file. This is a dispute over estate distribution, he says. The executor claims the deceased made substantial gifts to one beneficiary that should be accounted for. The contesting party claims undue influence. Let's hear the evidence. Mr. Henderson presents Dad's letter, the bank statements, and testimony from Dad's doctor confirming his mental competence. It's thorough and convincing. Miss Rodriguez argues that Dad's gifts to Victoria were freely given and shouldn't affect her inheritance. She claims I manipulated Dad in his final months, but when the judge asks for proof of manipulation, Miss Rodriguez has nothing. No witnesses, no documentation, just accusations. The judge looks disappointed. Without evidence, I can't support claims of undue influence. The deceased clearly documented his wishes and reasoning. I hold my breath as the judge makes his decision. I'm ruling in favor of the executor. The judge announces. The gifts to Victoria Sullivan will be deducted from her share of the estate. This is consistent with the deceased's documented intentions and ensures equitable distribution. Relief washes over me. Mr. Henderson squeezes my hand reassuringly. Across the room, Miss Rodriguez gathers her papers with a tight expression. Outside the courtroom, Mr. Henderson explains what happens next. Victoria will receive approximately $40,000, her half of the remaining estate after deductions. You'll receive the same amount, plus you inherit the house since you were living there and caring for your father. What about the joint account? I ask. That will be split equally once it's unfrozen, minus Victoria's withdrawn amounts. I nod, feeling emotionally drained but vindicated. Dad's wishes are being honored. That's what matters most. That evening, I call Victoria. She doesn't answer, so I leave a message. The judge ruled. I'm not trying to hurt you, Victoria. I just wanted to do what Dad asked. I hope someday you'll understand. She doesn't call back. 4 months pass. Victoria's social media presence in Spain continues. She posts photos of tapas, beaches, and nightlife. She seems happy, or at least she wants everyone to think she is. I focus on settling Dad's estate. The house needs repairs, so I hire contractors. I donate Dad's clothes to charity and carefully pack away items I want to keep. His watch, his favorite books, photo albums. One afternoon, I'm in the attic when I find a box labeled Victoria, Childhood. Inside are her school projects, old dance recital programs, and drawings she made as a kid. I sit there for an hour, looking through memories of when we were close. I miss my sister, not the angry, entitled person she's become, but the girl who used to tell me bedtime stories and share her secrets. I wonder if that person is still in there somewhere. I decide to send the box to her in Spain. Maybe it will remind her of who she used to be. 2 weeks later, I receive a brief text. Got the box. Thanks. It's not much, but it's something. 6 months after the court ruling, I'm settling into a new routine. The house is mine now, and I've made it feel like home. I've also started Dad's vintage car restoration business that he always dreamed of expanding. Then one morning, I get a call from Mr. Henderson. Maya, we have a situation. Victoria is trying to access the joint account again, but it's frozen, I say, confused. She's filed a motion claiming financial hardship. She says she needs the money immediately for medical expenses. My heart sinks. Is it legitimate? That's what we need to find out. The court has requested documentation of her expenses. Over the next week, Victoria submits hospital bills from Spain. She claims she had an emergency surgery and can't afford the medical costs. The bills look official, but something feels off. Mr. Henderson hires a translator to verify the documents. Within days, we have our answer. The bills are fake. Victoria forged them to access the frozen funds. This is fraud, Mr. Henderson says grimly. We need to report this to the court immediately. I feel sick. Victoria has crossed a line I never thought she would. The court hearing about the forged documents is quick. The judge reviews the evidence and his expression hardens. This is a serious offense, he says, looking directly at Victoria's lawyer. Attempted fraud against the court. Miss Rodriguez looks mortified. She clearly didn't know Victoria had submitted fake documents. Your Honor, I was not aware. I understand. The judge interrupts. But your client has committed fraud. I'm issuing a warrant for her arrest, and all her assets are hereby frozen pending investigation. I feel no satisfaction, only sadness. Victoria dug herself into this hole through her own choices. That evening, I receive an angry call from Victoria. You did this. She screams. You destroyed my life, Victoria. You forged documents. You committed fraud. I didn't make you do that. I needed that money. I'm broke. I have nothing. Then why are you living in an expensive apartment in Barcelona? I ask quietly. She goes silent. Then, I hate you, Maya. I hope you're happy now. She hangs up. I sit in the empty house, feeling hollow. This isn't what I wanted. Victoria returns to the United States a month later, escorted by authorities. She's arrested at the airport and charged with fraud. I learn about it from Mr. Henderson, who receives a notification from the court. What happens now? I ask. She'll face criminal charges. If convicted, she could face jail time, though first offenses are often plea bargained down to probation and restitution. I visit Victoria in jail. The room is cold and sterile, separated by thick glass. She looks terrible, her hair unwashed, her face pale and drawn. "Why did you come?" she asks through the phone, her voice flat. "Because you're my sister," I say simply. She laughs bitterly. "Some sister? You put me here." "No, Victoria. You put yourself here. I just wanted to honor Dad's wishes." Tears stream down her face. "I'm scared, Maya. I messed everything up." For the first time in months, I see vulnerability in her eyes. Not manipulation or anger, just genuine fear and regret. "I'll help you find a good lawyer," I tell her. "But Victoria, you need to take responsibility for what you did." She nods slowly, wiping her tears with her sleeve. Victoria's trial is scheduled for 3 months later. Her public defender negotiates a plea deal, probation, community service, and repayment of court costs. She also has to attend financial management classes. The judge accepts the plea. Victoria is released but must stay in the state for 2 years. All her assets remain frozen until she completes her probation terms. I'm at the courthouse when she's released. She walks out looking tired but relieved. When she sees me, she stops. We stand there for a long moment, just looking at each other. "Thank you," she finally says, "for hiring the lawyer who helped with the plea deal." "You're welcome," I reply. We don't hug. We're not there yet. But something has shifted between us. Over the next few weeks, Victoria starts attending her required classes. She moves into a small apartment and gets a job at a local restaurant. It's a huge step down from her previous lifestyle, but she seems more grounded. One day, she texts me, "Can we talk?" We meet at a quiet cafe. Victoria sits across from me, stirring her coffee nervously. "I owe you an apology," she begins. "A real one. What I did was wrong, all of it. The lying, the forged documents, blaming you. I was selfish and entitled." I listen, seeing genuine remorse in her eyes. "I got caught up in this lifestyle," she continues. "I thought money and status would make me happy. But I was miserable. I pushed away everyone who actually cared about me, including you and Dad. Why didn't you just talk to us?" I ask gently. She shrugs. "Pride, I guess. I didn't want to admit I'd made mistakes. It was easier to pretend everything was perfect and keep asking Dad for money." I reach across the table and take her hand. "Victoria, I never wanted to fight with you. I just wanted to do right by Dad." "I know," she whispers. "And I made it so hard. I'm sorry, Maya. For everything." We sit there for a while, finally starting to bridge the gap that's grown between us. Over the following months, Victoria slowly rebuilds her life. She excels at her restaurant job and gets promoted to shift manager. She attends her financial classes and learns to budget properly. I invite her to Dad's house for dinner one evening. She brings flowers, a simple gesture, but meaningful. We cook together, laughing over a recipe that refuses to turn out right. "Remember when we tried to bake Dad a birthday cake?" Victoria asks, smiling at the memory. "And we forgot the sugar?" I add, and we both burst out laughing. For the first time in years, we're just sisters again. Not fighting over money or inheritance, just enjoying each other's company. Victoria notices the vintage car I've been restoring in the garage. "Is that Dad's old Mustang?" "Yeah. I'm fixing it up," continuing his dream. She runs her hand along the hood, eyes misty. "He loved that car. I remember him taking us for drives when we were kids." "Want to help me restore it?" I offer. She looks surprised, then nods. "I'd like that." 6 months later, Victoria completes her probation. Her assets are unfrozen, and she finally receives her portion of the inheritance, $40,000. She doesn't blow it on luxury items. Instead, she pays off her debts, puts money into savings, and enrolls in business classes at the community college. I want to open my own restaurant someday, she tells me. Something small and local, not flashy. Just good food and honest work. I'm proud of her transformation. The entitled, manipulative Victoria is gone, replaced by someone humble and hardworking. We finish restoring Dad's Mustang together. On a sunny Saturday, we take it for a drive, windows down, music playing. Victoria laughs freely, and I realize this is the sister I remember from childhood. Thank you for not giving up on me, she says as we pull into the driveway. Thank you for not giving up on yourself, I reply. We've both grown from this experience. The inheritance battle forced us to confront ugly truths about ourselves and each other. But it also gave us a chance to start over. 1 year after Dad's death, Victoria and I visit his grave together. We bring fresh flowers and clean the headstone. Standing there, side by side, I feel Dad's presence somehow. I think he'd be proud of us, Victoria says softly. For finding our way back to each other, I nod, tears in my eyes. I think so too. We've been through hell, legal battles, fraud charges, frozen assets, and bitter fights. But we came out the other side stronger and closer. Victoria has been working toward her restaurant dream. She's saved enough for a down payment on a small space downtown. I'm helping her with the business plan, using skills I learned managing Dad's estate. I couldn't do this without you, she tells me one evening as we review contractor quotes. Yes, you could, I assure her. But I'm glad I get to be part of it. Our relationship isn't perfect. We still disagree sometimes, still have moments of tension. But we've learned to communicate honestly and handle conflicts with respect. Victoria's restaurant opens on a crisp autumn morning. It's small but charming, with exposed brick walls and warm lighting. She named it Second Chances Cafe, and the menu features comfort food made with love. I'm there for the grand opening, helping greet customers and manage the chaos. Victoria moves through the dining room with confidence, chatting with guests and making sure everything runs smoothly. At the end of the night, after the last customer leaves, we collapse into chairs, exhausted but exhilarated. We did it, Victoria breathes, looking around her restaurant with wonder. You did it, I correct her. This is your dream, she shakes her head. Our dream. I couldn't have gotten here without your support, Maya. After everything I put you through, you still believed in me. I smile. That's what sisters do. We sit in comfortable silence, listening to the city sounds outside. Dad's inheritance wasn't just money, it was a lesson about family, forgiveness, and second chances. 2 years after the inheritance battle began, life has settled into a peaceful rhythm. I run Dad's car restoration business successfully. Victoria's restaurant is thriving, with regular customers and positive reviews. We have dinner together every Sunday, a tradition we've established to stay connected. Sometimes we talk about Dad, sharing memories and the missing him together. Other times we just enjoy each other's company, laughing over silly things. Victoria has been dating someone, a kind teacher she met through a mutual friend. He treats her with respect and genuinely cares about her, not her money or status. It's the healthiest relationship I've seen her in. I'm learning what real love looks like, she tells me. Not the superficial stuff I used to chase. I'm dating too, a mechanic who works with classic cars. We met through the restoration business, and he shares my passion for craftsmanship and honest work. Looking back on everything, I realize the inheritance battle was painful but necessary. It forced Victoria to confront her demons and me to stand up for what's right. Today, I'm sitting in Dad's old study. My study now. The dusty sunlight streams through the same window. On my desk is a framed photo of Victoria and me at our restaurant's opening, arms around each other, genuinely smiling. My phone buzzes. It's a text from Victoria. Dinner Sunday? I'm trying Mom's old lasagna recipe. I smile and reply, I'll be there. Can't wait. The inheritance that once drove us apart ultimately brought us back together. The money was never really the point. It was about learning to value each other over material things, about forgiveness and growth. Dad's letter said Victoria needed to learn that money isn't everything. She did learn that lesson, the hard way. But I learned something too, that love and family are worth fighting for, even when it's difficult. The assets that were frozen in my name? They helped Victoria find herself. The sister who left for Spain in anger returned as someone I'm proud to know. As I close my laptop and prepare for another day, I think about Dad's words. Maya, you have a good heart. Never lose that. I didn't lose it, Dad. And neither did Victoria. We just needed time to find our way back to each other.